Here's something that almost nobody talks about. There are people out there, maybe you're one of them, who are incredible at the beginning of relationships. Warm, present, magnetic. They show up fully. They make you feel like the most important person in the room, and then something shifts. Not because anything went wrong, not because they stopped caring, but because things started going right. The closer someone gets, the further they retreat. And the most disturbing part, they don't fully understand why they do it either. This isn't about being cold. It's not about being a bad person. It's about something buried so deep in the psychological architecture of a person that it operates almost entirely beneath conscious awareness. And today we're going to pull it into the light. You know this pattern if you've lived it. You meet someone and everything feels electric. You're curious, you're open, you're genuinely excited. But then, somewhere around the point where it starts to feel real, something inside you quietly starts packing its bags. You find yourself noticing their flaws more. Not because the flaws got worse, because your nervous system needed an exit strategy. Or maybe you recognize it differently. You start getting busy, suddenly your schedule is packed. You respond slower. You feel a vague irritability you can't quite name. And the worst part is, you still like this person. You might even be falling for them. But the closer they try to get, the more suffocated you feel. Like the walls of the relationship are closing in, even though no walls actually exist. Some of you read that and felt something move in your chest. Not because it's new information, but because someone finally said it out loud. Here's what most people get wrong about this pattern. They assume it's about fear of commitment. They frame it as emotional immaturity or an inability to love. But that's the surface reading. The actual psychological mechanism runs much deeper. When someone consistently pulls away as intimacy increases, what's happening is not a rejection of the other person. It's a protective response to vulnerability itself. At some point, usually in early life, closeness became dangerous. Not physically dangerous, emotionally dangerous. Maybe love came with conditions. Maybe being seen fully led to criticism or abandonment. Maybe the people who were supposed to be safe were also the people who caused the most pain. And so, the nervous system learned something it was never supposed to learn, that intimacy is a threat. What makes this so quietly devastating is that the lesson wasn't written in words. It was written in experience, in the body, in the way your chest tightens when someone says, "I need to talk to you," in the way you feel an inexplicable urge to disappear exactly when someone chooses you completely. Psychologists call this an avoidant attachment style. But what that clinical language doesn't capture is the longing underneath it. These are not people who don't want connection. These are people who want it so badly that the possibility of losing it feels more unbearable than never having it at all. So they leave first, before they can be left. Picture this. Two people 6 months into something that feels genuinely good. One night, one of them says, quietly, vulnerably, "I think I'm falling in love with you." And the other person smiles. They say something warm back, but inside something cold moves through them. Not because the words weren't true, but because hearing them made the whole thing suddenly real. That night, they lie awake. The relationship doesn't feel exciting anymore. It feels heavy, weighted with expectation. The other person is now someone who could genuinely hurt them, and somewhere between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., they start constructing reasons why this probably won't work, why the timing is off, why they need space, why they should slow things down, and none of those reasons are the real reason. The real reason is terror. The terror of being fully known and still being left. If you've made it this far, you already know this video is speaking to something real. Go ahead and like it, and follow the channel if you haven't. This is exactly the kind of conversation we have here. Psychology, patterns, the hidden architecture of how people work. Now let's keep going, because this is where it gets important. There are stages to how this pulling away actually develops in a person's life, and understanding them changes everything. It starts in childhood, not as a decision but as an adaptation. A child who learns that expressing needs leads to rejection, that being too much leads to withdrawal of love, begins to compress themselves. They become self-sufficient not because they want to be, but because needing people felt like it came at too high a cost. They learn to regulate their own emotions in isolation, and that skill which protected them then becomes the very thing that isolates them later. Then adolescence arrives, and they discover something intoxicating: the chase. The early stages of connection feel safe because there's no real vulnerability yet. Nobody truly knows them. The stakes are low, so they can be charming, attentive, warm. This is not manipulation, it's genuine. They really do feel that way. But the moment depth becomes possible, the old wiring kicks in. The protection system activates, and then adulthood becomes a cycle. Get close, feel panic, create distance, feel relief, feel lonely, seek connection again, over and over, each time wondering why they can never quite let someone fully in, each time believing, quietly, that something is fundamentally wrong with them. Here is the emotional truth that sits at the center of all of this. People who pull away when things get serious are not afraid of love. They are afraid of needing love, because needing it means it can be taken away. And for someone whose earliest experiences taught them that people leave, that love is conditional, that closeness comes with pain, needing someone doesn't feel like intimacy. It feels like handing someone a weapon, and so they do something heartbreaking. They sabotage the very thing they want most. They push away the person who is actually choosing to stay. They test, withdraw, and disappear not out of cruelty, but out of a deeply held belief, one they may not even be conscious of, that if someone truly knew them, they wouldn't choose to stay anyway. But here is where the perspective shifts, and this matters. That survival strategy, the one that kept them emotionally safe when they were small and powerless, is not a character flaw. It is not proof that they are broken or unlovable or incapable of real connection. It is evidence that at some point in their life, they were in an environment where emotional armor was the only tool they had, and they used it well. They survived. The problem is not that they learned to protect themselves. The problem is that the protection never got the memo that the war is over. The nervous system is still guarding against a threat that, in most cases, no longer exists in the same form. It's running old code in a new situation, and until that code is examined, really examined, it will keep firing, keep creating distance, keep choosing the familiar loneliness over the terrifying possibility of being truly seen. This is not about whether someone can change, it's about understanding why the pattern exists in the first place. And the moment you understand that your pulling away is not evidence of your inability to love, but rather a deeply intelligent response to an old environment, something softens, not immediately, not completely, but something moves. So if you started this video thinking about someone who pulls away from you, or recognizing yourself as someone who does, hold both of those things, because the person who retreats when things get real is not retreating from you. They are retreating from the version of pain they have always known love to eventually become. They are trying to protect something tender that was hurt a long time ago. And the most quietly radical thing a person like that can do, the thing that takes more courage than almost anything else, is to stay, not perfectly, not without fear, but to stay anyway, to let someone see them, to find out, maybe for the first time, what happens when love is not something to survive, but something to actually live inside of. That is what this pattern, at its core, is really about. Not the pulling away, but the longing underneath it that never went anywhere at all.